My name is David Moon, and I was a retail merchandising intern at Levi's and Strauss Co. I worked there in December of 2018. A retail merchandising intern was mainly tasked basically to manage all product that would ever touch the store. So for me, I was on the US retail team, so any product that was ever put out in a retail store in the US was always managed by us, whether it was the inventory, whether it was product placement, whether it was the product itself. We always had a voice, and we always had one foot in every single team, basically. So first, basically on Monday, we would have like a meeting, and we would have basically it was like an entire team meeting, so that included the retail merchandisers as well as the planners. The planners were basically like kind of like our finance people, and basically we would look over the sales for the past week, and we would see what kind of adjustments we would need to make, and how we could make sure that our inventory was selling through. And then throughout the week, we would have a lot of different jobs, just because the retail merchandiser is generally a very flexible position. So we would meet with teams like the design team, with the brand environment team, we'd meet with the finance team, we'd meet with a lot of different people to kind of make sure that the upcoming lines for whatever season was upcoming was as perfect as it could be. When it came to the busiest seasons, basically it was us just looking at everything, like from design to product development to finances to the supply chain, just to make sure that everything was on tip-top shape. Skills. So in terms of technical skills, a lot of Excel. Excel was my bread and butter during this time, just because the amount of functionality you can do in Excel is just amazing. For me, it was a lot of sales projections, so therefore there was a lot of math involved, and the merchandising role, it is often seen as a creative role, but on top of that, there is this mathematic business role they have to really take care of, and it's making sure that numbers align, making sure that numbers make sense, and making sure what you could interpret from numbers is something that was really useful during my time. A lot of data, a lot of data analytics, and a lot of just not trusting only your gut, but with trusting the numbers that back everything up. There was a lot of decision making as well. For me personally, I think the most unique aspect was the fact that because the merchandising role was kind of like a glue that held everything together, we were in the center of basically connecting every single team together. And so I was able to see how the design process works. I was able to see how products are developed. I was able to see how numbers worked and how our company was doing in terms of sales. And so being able to connect everything together gave me a really good overall view of basically our lines and how they are performing on a US scale. And on top of that, for me, it was really just cool to see how products were in their beginning stages, so in their ideation stages, in their development stages, and then later on going to a Levi store or going out in the street and just seeing someone wear it. It's the fact that you get to see that someone else is wearing what you contributed to make is something that's really cool. One really cool thing that my team did was my team worked on the Jordan Levi collab, the second round, and just being able to see that like there are people that are working behind the scenes to create such a cool collab was something that was just very drawing to me. Like it was very interesting to me. So for me, I've been sewing for the last 13-14 years now, because my parents as well as my grandfather were people that were in the manufacturing industry, and so I grew up with a sewing machine. My first like toy was like a sewing machine, and so I've always had this connection with clothes, just because so if you don't know me, I'm a very like, my body shape is really weird just because I'm in between a medium and a large, and so a lot of my life I had to always make sure that clothes fit me personally. And so just playing around with just t-shirts, playing around with just fabrics, cut and sewing my own clothes, it gave me an idea of just what I wanted to do in the future. And even if it wasn't the most fun thing all the time, it was something that was so prevalent in my life that it initially just drew me into this industry. So for me, I did have a full-time return offer for Levi's after the internship, But with my personal experiences just in the fashion industry, I decided to actually not pursue it after graduation. First, it's just the fact that the fashion industry is very saturated in the sense that there's a lot of people that want to be in it, and because of that, and just basic economic theory, the pay isn't the best, and the wage isn't super competitive against like tech, right? And because of that, sometimes it means that you have to give things up in order to pursue your dream of working in fashion. So I know that in New York, people that work in fashion at entry-level jobs, they tend to get paid like 30-40K a year, which is barely even livable. SF is a little bit better, it's around 60,000, but that wage is something that, for me personally, I couldn't compromise, and so I had to put my dream aside, and I had to make fashion a hobby instead of a full-time career, just so that I can align myself better with other goals that I have for myself after graduation.